TJ, what is the difference between an individual trustee versus a portfolio of trustees?
Yeah, that's a good question. So within your IRA, let's say you have $250,000 that you want to allocate towards trustees or real estate debt. One option, and this could make sense in a lot of cases, one option is to go out yourself and go lend the money directly to an individual or an entity or some kind of real estate investor, and you can do that. Some of the advantages of doing that are that you get to know the deal very, very intimately. You get to negotiate the deal specifically. You can do some unique things like maybe do a second trust deed. And also you can build a relationship with that person if that's part of your goal. So there's some real advantages to that. You can probably get a higher yield, nominal yield, while the money is out too when you do that. And many, many people do that. I do that personally, actually. There's some significant risks with that. If you're not a real estate investor, you're not proficient at underwriting these things. Loan docs have to be generated. You have to hire somebody to do loan docs. You're taking on a lot of risk yourself. The other inefficiency is that you're only earning money when you put the money out. And if you have $250,000 and you put it out and then it comes back, it doesn't make any money when it's cash. Diversification is a serious problem. So there's some reasons you might do that, but to solve some of the downsides of it, another option would be to invest in a loan portfolio. And they're structured various ways, and I think there's a question later in the session about the structuring. And I'm sure Karin would prefer certain structures to others, but generally speaking, if you do something like this, then you put that $250,000 across many, many, many loans, maybe 100 loans or maybe 200 loans. It just depends on what portfolio you sign up for. You may see some lower yields on a per day basis because there's fiduciary costs, there's management costs, there's all those types of things. But typically when you invest in a portfolio like that, your money starts earning the day you invest. So overall, your yields may not be any lower. The other thing is that the time that you're spending is significantly less. It can really be a passive investment. But the biggest advantage to doing a portfolio versus an individual trustee is that you've got diversification across so many loans that you're not relying upon any one loan or any one set of loans to bring you that income and protect your capital. So it's a very good question. It's very strategic. It's about what the objective of the investor really is, but their eyes should be open about the benefits and the risks of both.
Okay. And Karin, to touch on this topic, can my IRA lend money?
Right. Yeah. An IRA absolutely can lend money. It's one of the asset classes. Your IRA can do lots of things, invest in real estate and private stock. It can buy performing and non-performing debt. It can also be the bank and lend money. Absolutely. And to do that, it's a three-step process. You get the account open. Once the account is open, then you fund it either through an IRA to IRA transfer, for example. You could do in a rollover of a previous employer plan, or you can write a check and make a contribution. So you open the account, you get it funded, and then the IRA is the lender, and that's how it should be written on the document. And we review it, and assuming the vesting is correct and the IRA is receiving an asset in exchange for the money, then it's funded, and then all the note payments are made back to the IRA that owns the asset. It works like that.
Okay, and also Karin, can my IRA, can it borrow money? A back and forth transaction here.
Right. That's a different thing. So it's a big misconception. People will think that an IRA can go out and get it like a conventional conforming Freddie Fannie kind of a loan, and it cannot. An IRA can only take on non-recourse debt. I do have a list of non-recourse lenders if anyone would like that. You can email me, info@udirectira.com. I'd be happy to shoot that out to you. But a loan to an IRA must be non-recourse. And so what that means is that, it's debt, that the lender can only come against the subject property and not against any other assets within the plan. okay? This loan's not about your FICO score, not about how much you earn. It's not about you. It's strictly about the property's location and condition, but primarily they're underwriting for cash flow. So an IRA can be the bank. The IRA can also borrow money. But when the IRA borrows money with a non-recourse loan, keep in mind, it can throw off a tax. And that tax is called unrelated debt financed income tax, UDFI. If you want to write down another chapter and verse here, it's irs.gov, the website, publication 598, to learn more about the tax that your IRA may incur if the IRA takes on non-recourse debt.
Okay, thank you for that. And again, we have a quiz at the end of this with here. So TJ, what are the common structures for portfolios?
Yeah, there's three common structures I can kind of think of off the top of my head. In our case, we're a REIT. Newport Realty Trust is a REIT. I think for IRA investing, I think that's probably the best structure. So a REIT is a C corporation that sells shares to its investors. So as the IRA investor, you're buying shares. And then that C corporation holds real estate assets. In the case of what we're talking about, it would be holding notes secured by real estate. REITs have quite a bit of hurdles they have to get through in order to be qualified as a REIT. So there's a lot more fiduciary attention spent on the entity. For example, REITs need to have quarterly audits by a third-party CPA to make sure that the income coming in is real estate related, to make sure that the balance sheet is real estate related, make sure that there's not a concentrated shareholding. So there has to be a diversified shareholding. There has to be at least 100 shareholders, and the top 5 can't own 50%. So that protects, of course, the lesser shareholders. There's quite a bit that has to happen, and a lot of third-party looks at REITs. So from a fiduciary perspective, and from the perspective that it's a C corp that sells shares, my experience with IRA custodians is that they far prefer a REIT to any of the other structures.
Hey, Karen.